Welcome back to the How to Make a Shop tutorial. In this video, we'll cover the basic opening and closing of the shop, as well as the toggling between the different pages of the shop, allowing us to actually look through the shop at all the items that we'll display in future episodes. Nonetheless, let's get right into the video. First off, to get started with the scripting portion of the shop, we'll need to set up a local script in starter player scripts called client. I'm currently working from the same client script I used in the inventory tutorial, but you should be able to make your own with basically the same code except for everything that mentions inventory client. We'll then insert a module script into this client script, calling it shop client, inside which we'll create a table called shop client, and then add a function called start inside of it. We'll then head back to the client local script and create a new variable for the shop client module, running the start function afterwards. If you're not working with the inventory from the inventory series, your client script should still look the same but without the inventory client lines. At the top of shop client, we'll create a variable for the player service and create variables for the local player as this module is running on the client, as well as the player's player GUI. Head over to the shop screen GUI we made last episode and turn off the reset on spawn property, as that will make so we don't have to update our reference variables to the GUI objects every time the player's character loads in. In the shop client module, we'll create a variable reference to the shop screen GUI, another to the background frame, the info frame, the buttons frame, and the close button. We'll then create a reference to the Game Passes page inside the page's frame, as well as the Robux and items pages. Under the Game Passes page F variable, we'll create a variable referencing the scrolling frame inside the Game Pass page, as well as the sample frame inside the scrolling frame. We'll do this for the other two pages as well. Near the top of our list of GUI variables, we'll make sure to set the background frame to be invisible when the script runs in case it was open while you were adjusting the UI. We'll do the same for each sample frame in each of the shop pages. We'll create another variable for the buy button inside the info frame, as well as the item name text, the price text, and the description text. I then changed the order of these just for organizational purposes, but the order doesn't really matter. We'll create a new table called buttons, looping through each child in the buttons frame inside background F, checking if it's a text button, like all the buttons we created are, and if it is, we'll insert it into our new buttons table we created. Inside each shop button, we'll insert an object value renaming it to link. We'll set the value of this object value to whichever page we want that button to link to, and we'll do this for all three buttons or more if you want to add additional pages. Back in the script, we'll loop through all of the buttons in our new buttons table we created, and for each one, we'll connect to the mouse button one-click event, finding the link object value we created. We'll check if the link object was found and if its value isn't nil. If both of these conditions are met, we'll then reference the UI page layout, running the jump to function, providing the link's value as the argument. If the link doesn't exist, we'll give an error saying that there was no link object. And if it exists but the value is nil, we'll give another error saying that the value wasn't set properly. At line 34, I accidentally tried looping through the button's frame rather than its children, so we'll add a getChildren function call, and that should fix that. Testing it, we can see that we can't test it because I forgot to make so we can open and close the inventory first. To do that, we'll create a new function inside the shop client module to toggle the window open and closed, with one parameter for which to set it to. We'll then create a new value inside our shop client table called window debounce and another called isOpen, setting them both to false to start. Inside the setWindowOpen function, we'll check if window debounce is true and return if it is, and set it to true if it isn't. We'll then set it back to false at the end of the function. We'll create an if statement that checks what toSet is, and if it's true, we'll run the code for opening the inventory, twinning the background frame. Before then, however, we'll create a variable at the top to define where we want the open position of the shop to be, setting it to the background frame's current position, and creating another variable for the closed position, setting it to the same position but adding the screen size on the y-axis to move it under the screen. We'll then tween the background frame into the open position variable we created, but set it to the closed position before doing so. We'll also set it to be visible equals true before we tween it into the open position. We'll create another couple of variables called tweenStyle and tweenTime, which will define how the window opens and closes. We'll set the easing style to quart and the tween time to 0.5 and add those variables in our tween position function call with the out easing direction. We'll then task.wait for the tween time so that we can wait for the tween to complete, setting the isOpen value to true then as well. If toSet is false, then we'll tween the background's position to the closed position using the in direction this time, but the same style and time. We'll then wait for this tween to complete as well, setting the background to be invisible and the isOpen value to false. Now we'll need to create an actual button to run this function and toggle the shop window. We'll insert a text button inside the shop screen GUI, naming it Shop Button, and positioning it wherever you'd like. We'll set it to a darker color and the Ferdoko 1 font, setting the text to Shop and text scale to True. We'll then insert a UI corner object, setting the corner radius to 0.3, 0, and then adding a UI padding to give some room around the edges of the text. We'll create a new variable at the top of the Shop Client module to reference the shop button we just created, and we'll connect that button's mouse button one-click event to a new function which will toggle the shop open and closed using shopClient.setWindowOpen function with the argument not shopClient.isOpen, which is the opposite of whether or not it's currently open. Testing it, we can see that the shop opens and closes, though the button's in an inconvenient spot. In the script though, we'll also connect the close button to the setWindowOpen function, but this time just with the argument false, as we want it to always close the shop and never to open it. We'll then move the shop button out of the way of the shop itself, moving it to the top middle of the screen. Testing it again, we can see that the shop toggles the window open and closed correctly, and that the close button also works as intended. Looking back at the shop dummy we created last episode, we'll open the tag editor in the View tab at the top and create a new tag called Shop Location, which will toggle on for the shop dummy model. Back in the script, we'll create a variable reference to collection service. Then we'll create another constant variable called Shop Location Radius, which will be the maximum approach distance that a shop location can trigger the shop open from. At this point, we'll actually remove the shop location tag from the shop dummy model and add it to the model's humanoid root part instead by selecting it and setting the tag enabled, as we'll set up our code to work with parts rather than models, just to give you the freedom of having something other than an NPC for your shop. Just to test that theory, we'll also create a part called Shop Location 2, giving it the same tag as we gave the humanoid root part. Back in the Shop Client module, we'll move the setWindowOpen function under the Start function for organizational purposes, then we'll create a variable reference to run service at the top of our code. We'll head to the Start function and connect the runService.renderStepped event to a new function we'll create called shopClient.renderStepped with dt for delta time as the only parameter, though we won't use it for this. Inside this function, we'll loop through all the shop locations by using the CS_getTagged function and providing the shop location tag we created. We'll also define the character variables at the top of this function, returning if any of them aren't valid or aren't found, so we can just ignore frames where the character isn't loaded in. Then, for each shop location part, we'll check if the distance between that part and the player's humanoid root part is less than the radius variable we defined earlier by using the .magnitude property of vector3 objects. If it is, we'll run the setWindowOpen function with the argument true. Testing the game, we can see that approaching the shop dummy repeatedly opens the inventory, so we'll head back into the script to make some adjustments. In the setWindowOpen function, we'll check if the shop isn't already open before trying to open it. In the else portion of the if statement, we'll also add some checks to make sure toSet is false and that isOpen is true. When we test it, we can see that the shop now opens a single time, and the buttons on the left all work as intended. We can also approach the shop part and it functions the same as the shop dummy. That'll be it for this episode, but we'll also make some adjustments in the next episode to make so the shop doesn't open right back up the second you close it if you're still in range, so keep an eye out for that. Additionally, if you want access to the studio files and the code for this tutorial series, you can purchase a subscription on my 9 Scripting Lessons Discord server for just $2.99 a month, or become a channel member for the same price if my membership system is back up and running by the time you're watching this video. If you're wanting personal one-on-one assistance with your code, you can also purchase a higher tier subscription for $24.99 a month for up to 2 hours a week of one-on-one tutoring, as well as many other perks where I can directly help you in studio as you work on your own projects. Either way though, thank you for watching, and feel free to post questions or issues you come across in either the comments of this video or my 9 Scripting Lessons Discord server following the instructions in the description. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.